Hello, my name is Avery Taylor, and welcome to Rebuild October, a series where we rebuild every single team across the month of October. So, whether you're looking for your favorite team or just generally curious as to how every team should approach the offseason, then this is the series for you. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. As you can see from the war by position, this team has some clear strengths, but not so clear weaknesses. The bullpen and third base were very strong, where positions like catcher and first base didn't have the best outputs despite having names that you would assume would be back on the roster like Rafael Devers and Patrick Bailey. Instead, the focus of this rebuild will be on starting pitching depth and the corner outfield. However, before we can talk about any additions to the team, we have to talk about the potential decisions that the team will have to make on impending free agent. There will be not many decisions to be had because Justin Verlander, Wilmer Flores, Tom Murphy, and Dominic Smith will all be let loose in the free agency without anyone signing back. Verlander is the only one to really throw a bone to after a strong finish to the year. After he looked rough for much of the year, he actually finished with a 3.85 ERA. In the second half of the season, he looked like prime Verlander, posting a 2.99 ERA across 14 starts while striking out over 8 batters per 9 innings. If Verlander does decide to come back in 2026, there will be a contract somewhere waiting for him. It just won't be with the Giants. A player the team will welcome back from the prospect realm is Bryce Eldridge, who had his fair share of struggles when he made his major league debut last season. Eldridge has simply mashed at every level of the minor leagues, and I'm not sure that he will look nearly as poor as he did at the major league level again. Because of the trade for Rafael Devers, he is forced into a DH role where his value is strictly with the bat, one we're counting on a turnaround from. Another name to keep in the memory bank is Carson Whisenhunt, who also made his debut last season with little success. Whisenhunt has one of the dirtiest changeups in the prospect world, but struggles to locate his pitches regularly. While he was able to cut down on walks in 2025, his strikeouts went down as well, which caused mediocre results at AAA. The jump to the majors was even more rough, and a move to the bullpen might be in his future. Because of his struggles, he'll not be making the opening day roster. A player who will be making the opening day roster from their prospect system is Trevor McDonald, who finished the year making a couple starts for the organization. He looked pretty solid in doing so, however, the numbers at AAA were far more concerning. For a team that needs a serious overhaul of the rotation, McDonald isn't trustworthy enough to make it, but he will find a spot in the bullpen. Other players finding spots on the team will include Patrick Bailey at catcher, Rafael Devers at first, Casey Schmidt, who can hopefully keep taking steps forward offensively at second, Lily Adama is at short, with Matt Chapman at third, Elliot Ramos will be returning in left with Jung-Hoo Lee in center, Tyler Fitzgerald will make it back on the Major League roster off the bench, along with Drew Gilbert and Gerard Encarnacion, who will platoon in right versus lefties. That leaves a platoon in right field versus righties, as well as a backup catcher role to fill. So with that, the team will turn to free agency. For the final spot in the starting lineup, the team will grab Max Kepler. Kepler isn't the most fun option, but he does a decent job against right-handed pitching. He is a massive underperformer in terms of expected numbers versus the traditional, and even does a great job pulling the ball in the air. He might not hit the same amount of homers due to the dimensions of San Francisco, but he'll definitely hit a few into Triple's alley. The final hitter being brought onto the team is Gary Sanchez, who is still showing life in his bat despite struggling to find a full-time role. Being brutally honest, the Giants don't expect a lot from their backup catcher, other than the seldom day that Bailey needs a day off, so a change of pace would be nice. Sanchez isn't gifted defensively, but can still swing it well enough to come off the bench and provide a spark. Then our minds turn to the rotation, where the Giants will return Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, and Landon Rope. When performing and healthy, the trio makes a solid beginning to any rotation, but it's the remaining two spots where the Giants have been going wrong, and once again, they will return to free agency. The first free agent will come all the way from Japan in the form of Atsuki Tanichi, whose game should transfer well to the States. He is a strike-throwing right-hander who tops out in the low 90s. He doesn't have the flashiest stuff, but should be able to lock down the fifth spot in the rotation. For the Japanese League, he does have a good amount of strikeouts, but don't expect him to come to the States and be Blake Snell. And then for the final free agent to join the rotation, we have to get somebody who can be a solid 2 or 3 in the form of Michael King, formerly of the San Diego Padres. King will likely opt out of his mutual option in San Diego, creating a prime opportunity for the Giants to swoop up the divisional rival to follow Logan Webb in the rotation. He does a good job with his strikeout to walk rate and should have better fortunes with the homers in 2026. He is remarkably consistent across his career and would be exactly what the Giants needed in this rotation that lacked quality depth. Then for the bullpen, they will return a host of familiar names in the form of Ryan Walker, Joel Peguero, Joey Lucchesi, Jose Budo, Matt Gage, Eric Miller, and Kei Tang. This unit was very good for the Giants in 2025, and I would suggest it would be in the top half of the league again. And that's going to do it for the video. With the additional quality depth in the rotation, this team should be able to grab at least a wildcard spot. The division crown might be too much for this team to bite off, but there's certainly a team that can make it to the postseason and then make a dent while they're there. It would just take the right quality pieces.